The Ottoman Empire recruits boys from devastated villages into the ranks of the Janissaries. One of them turns out to be young Vlad Tepes, the son of the Prince of Wallachia. He was one of the most powerful warriors who fought under the banner of the Turks. Time passed, and realizing all the evil that he had done, Vlad returned home to rule his lands in peace and prosperity. He became a prince, respected and loved by his subjects, and he started a family and immensely loving wife and son. One day, Vlad and several soldiers discover traces of a detachment of Turkish scouts who lead them to a mountain with a cave. In it, Vlad stumbles upon ground bones and realizes that someone killed the entire squad. Suddenly, an unknown monster attacks the warriors and kills everyone except Vlad. Vlad manages to wound the vampire while running away. He manages to get out into the light and sees that the blood on his sword begins to disappear under the rays of the sun. Having looked closely, the prince sees a human-like monster. Vlad quickly gets on his horse and turns back. One of the monks tells Vlad about a vampire monster overcome by a thirst for human blood. The prince asks not to tell anyone about this. It will scare the people who are already restless due to the presence of the Turks. Everyone gathers at Vlad's castle to celebrate Easter. One of the princes raises a glass in honor of Vlad, and they express gratitude to him for 10 years of his princely life in the world. While everyone is celebrating, Turkish soldiers suddenly enter. The head of the warriors approaches Vlad and conveys to him the Sultan's greetings. Vlad pays them tribute and asks them to say hello to the Sultan. A squabble begins between Vlad and the envoy over the killed scouts, after which the latter conveys the order of Sultan Mehmed. The principality is obliged to transfer 1,000 boys to replenish the ranks of the Janissaries. Vlad is forced to come to terms because disobedience will lead to war. At night, Vlad's son asks his father about his childhood in captivity of the Sultan, whether he was scared or not. In response, Vlad says that he only thought about doing one thing so that his father was proud of her. In the hope of the Sultan's mercy, with whom Vlad was on friendly terms, the prince asked not to take the children, to which he received a caustic refusal. Vlad had no choice but to give up his own son. Vlad begins to advance with his son towards the Turkish soldiers who have come for his son. When he gives his son to the soldiers, one of them tells Vlad that they thought it would be more difficult for them to snatch his son from his hands. Vlad changes his mind and orders his son to run to his mother, and he begins to fight with the soldiers. Vlad kills everyone one by one. Realizing that he has doomed his own people to death, Vlad rushes to the mountain where the vampire lives. He asks him to give him the power to save his people and family. The vampire comes to Vlad, sniffs him, and says that he feels fear in everyone who comes to this cave, but for some reason there is a feeling of hope, not fear, and asks why. In response, Vlad says that he really came to the cave with the hope of receiving strength from the vampire. The vampire warns Vlad that if he does not control his bloodlust within 3 days, he will become evil like never before. And if he can subdue his thirst, he will become human again. Vlad passes out after drinking the vampire's blood. The next morning, Vlad wakes up to find himself lying in the river. As he stands up, he begins to feel the power the vampire has given him. He sees better, hears better, and starts running faster. Having received strength, Vlad hurries home. He single-handedly destroys the army of the Turks, after which rumors begin to circulate among the people that the prince has evil spirits. Vlad tries with all his might to resist the thirst for blood, which he tells his wife Marina about. She accepts this as a sacrifice for the sake of common salvation and protects her husband from exposure. She says that Vlad has gone on reconnaissance and will catch up with everyone at sunset. While the prince is waiting for darkness, a Turkish detachment attacks the Wallachians. Turkish soldiers begin to kill people. Vlad manages to save his family from death and takes his people to the Kuzia monastery. Within the walls of the monastery, the prince is exposed and tried to be burned, which enrages him. However, Marina calms her husband down, seeing that their son Ingras is watching all this. Rumors begin to spread among Sultan Mehmed's soldiers that Vlad is no longer human, and everyone begins to fear him. The Sultan orders his generals to blindfold his soldiers because he believes that if they don't see anything, they won't be afraid. Vlad has exactly 1 night left to become the same person, so he rushes to defeat the Ottoman army before dawn. Vlad uses his strength and summons all the bats and creates a large cloud over the monastery. With the help of bats, Vlad defeats half of the enemy army. While he is busy fighting, the Turks enter the monastery and begin the massacre. Vlad does not have time to save Marina, who falls from a cliff. Dying, she begs Vlad to drink her blood so that he will have the strength to save Ingras. Vlad is unable to refuse her and dooms himself to eternal evil. The vampire who is in the cave is released and leaves a curse on Vlad. Arriving at the monastery and seeing the dying, he turns them and they become vampires. He puts on his armor with a dragon design. Together with them, he attacks the Turkish camp, where he kills whoever gets in their way. Vlad enters the tent of Sultan Mehmed. Mehmed set a trap for Vlad where he scattered silver coins on the ground. Silver has a very bad effect on vampires. Vlad is standing on his feet, beats Vlad. Using his chance, he wants to kill him, but Vlad gains strength and kills Sultan Mehmed. After all the Turks were killed, the vampires want the blood of Ingiris, because people are now enemies for them. At this moment, Brother Lucian appears and asks Vlad to let the boy go with him. Vlad agrees, and having given parting words, clears the clouds. Sunlight kills all vampires, including Vlad himself. After the coronation of Ingiris, Vlad is reborn the gypsy Shkelgim, who followed the prince everywhere, fed his flesh with his own blood. The final scene shows the modern world in which Vlad meets the reincarnation of Marina. They begin to enthusiastically communicate with each other. At the very end of the film, the vampire who gave Vlad the power follows them, saying the words, "Let the game begin." If you liked the video, please like and subscribe.